movies. And now, here's Popcorn Talks Meet the Movie Press.
This is Meet the Movie Press. It is May the 17th, 2019. Good morning. My name is Simon Thompson. You can find me on social media at Showbiz Simon on Instagram and Twitter. We have a lot to get through on the show this week. I want to reintroduce the panel first of all. Demetri, Jimmy returns to the show. Demetri, who are you, please?
Hey, I'm here from Popcorn Talks Meet the Movie Press, member of LAOFCS, and someday Anatomy of a Movie, even when it comes back. And you can find me here or on the Twitters at DMovies1701.
Jimmy O.
I'm JoeBlow.com and ArrowInTheHead.com. I'm also part of LAOFCS.
Yeah.
Did I say that right?
LMNOP.
We are all.
Yeah,
We are.
I know, it's the
The
group.
three of us.
It's a group.
It's a group.
So yeah, that's where I'm at. You can find me on all social media. Yeah.
One of us.
One of us.
Now, talking of buzzes, you might hear some buzzing during the show today. They appear to be doing the most resurfacing in LA, literally
Ever.
right outside the door today.
Yeah.
So in case you hear something buzzing during the show, it's fine. It's not an earthquake. Any of the vibrations are totally fine.
Feels like it. But...
And if you think we're mildly high, it's probably because the smell of asphalt is
smell of
wafting through
ass?
the building. No, the smell of asphalt.
You felt ass.
But who doesn't like their asphalt? Consensually. Okay, welcome to the show. Let's start off with some news that broke late yesterday, which, let's just say, has caused something of a stir. Okay, so The Batman, the movie that has been delayed for a little while at Warner Brothers, announced its Batman, or certainly is talking to this actor very seriously about being the Batman. Robert Pattinson, obviously perhaps best known from Twilight, but in the last couple of years has certainly diversified his repertoire. He's gone away from, he's bust out of that heartthrob thing to really become a serious actor. A lot of people quite upset about this.
When are they not upset about the casting of Batman?
Of
Every single Batman.
Every single Batman, yes. And he... forget about Twilight. Those are years ago. No actor looked good in those movies. He's a good actor. He can pull this off.
Yes.
Period.
He's
He
a
can.
solid... But the thing is, I think the problem is a lot of people haven't seen a lot of his post-Twilight work.
You're right.
One movie that really springs to mind for me is a movie he did with Guy Pearce a couple of years ago. I think it was 2014, 2015, called The Rover.
Yeah.
Which was...
Yes.
I, as someone who had always taken Robert at face value... was so incredibly impressed by his acting skill. It completely changed my opinion.
Yeah.
He wasn't really acting in Twilight. He was fulfilling a role which was a fictional character that was written in a book in a very clear way that was meeting the requirements of a fandom. Which I think he will be able to use those same skills in a completely different way to fill out Batman.
I think so,
I think the biggest problem people have, though, is he Bruce Wayne rather than is he Batman? Demetri, your thoughts on this?
It depends on how they're going with Bruce Wayne, but you know, there's just at this point, there's no point in being negative.
I agree
about it. I mean, he definitely look. It came out of left field. Like, we talked about potential casting here. When they announced the movie, I just have to put my faith in Matt Reeves. There's a reason why. You know, I'm not going to go down that road. Yes, it goes back to what people believe they want, like what they want. Whether it's from a narrative, what they want in a narrative, and if it doesn't click with what they get, then they complain. And this is what they, in their minds, would think should be the Batman. I'm fine. Let the movie come out. Let him prove himself. And if he stinks, he stinks. But if he's great, then everybody's going to be, oh my God, he's great. Same thing happened with Daniel Craig on Bond, too. So, and you're right. When Michael Keaton was chosen to be the Batman, or Batman, everyone was like, he's a comedy guy. He can't play Batman. And he's still today remembered as one of the best Batman.
He's one of my favorites. I think with Robert, I get it. I get the idea that if you love Batman, if you've been reading these comics forever, and you know this character so well, you get that person, you're like, I want to see this guy do it, and I definitely don't want to see the dude from those glowing vampire movies, those sparkling vampire movies. I get that, but at the same time, it's way too early. We've seen nothing.
Yeah.
And I try, like, again, I think I trust Matt Reeves.
Yeah.
So do I. I mean, his work has always been very good, and his casting has always been even
Excellent
sometimes
casting.
surprising when he's always been involved. Has been always on the nose. When you see it, you go, "Yep, I totally get it."
Yeah.
But also, I think when you talk about the what fans want, people who are really close to Batman, the really diehard fans, it always reminds me slightly of the question arising of. Are they the best people to have input? I mean, really, their input is minimal. It's purely opinion-based.
Yeah.
But when it comes to casting a character, because it reminds me very much of, like, if you're a mother and your son is getting married, the woman he marries is never going to be good enough for your son. Do you know what I mean? It's a little bit like that. And if it's the father, then, whoever marries your daughter is not going to be, oh, well, like Brian from accounts or Sarah from whatever. So it's kind of like, it's always that difficult thing. Sometimes I think when you have such an in-depth connection to a character, you can be a little bit too close.
Yeah.
And I think, but also, I mean, look, as you mentioned, Bonds, but we've had now no American Bond and how many British Batman?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I'm surprised the whole British thing hasn't come up, to be honest with you. But also another name that was bandied around was Nick Holt.
Sure. See, I love that idea,
which
too.
I think would have been totally fine with Nick being involved in that role.
He's a fantastic actor.
He's a great actor, but I think I'm more interested by Robert Pattinson.
It's an interesting choice. And to your point, again, with Bruce Wayne, he could play aloof. And I really thought that Ben Affleck I thought he made a great Batman because he did both so very well. He did Bruce Wayne well, and he did Batman really well. I think he got the shaft. But Pattinson, I think, can just pull it off. And to me, to your point, you're right. It's interesting. And I go, okay, I'm intrigued. Let me see what happens. And Matt Reeves is strong enough a storyteller where I think he will do this new reboot or whatever they want to call it of Batman. I think he'll do it justice.
No, I thought, good, nice way you slipped that in. But I think also because the whole DC catalog, the DCU, is so important to Warner Brothers as a IP. They have made so many missteps with it. They are being super careful to not make any more.
Yeah.
Right.
Because then it's a damaged universe. Things come out whenever they do a good one. It's like, are they on the right track? Take one more misstep. It's like, they fucked it up again. Right. And I think they will have tested the shit out of this.
Oh my God, absolutely.
I can't imagine it would be the equivalent of like Survivor. They don't just hand these things out willy-nilly and go, who's available? Oh, well, we got a choice between Steve Guttenberg and Robert Pattinson. I'll give it to our Pat.
Steve Guttenberg would be amazing.
Steve Guttenberg as the Joker or the Penguin.
I know, right?
But no, I mean, so they will have really, knowing Warner execs and how they go through the process, they will not have taken this decision lightly.
No, not at all.
Because a shitload of heads are on the block for this one. Demetri, you're going to say something.
Well, I'm going to go back to what we've talked about on the show regarding Batman. Yeah. And it's answered the question that we brought up right here first, Meet the Movie Press, was the age. What age range are they going to go? And this is a little bit younger than Affleck, but not a teenager. He's in that, late 20s, 30s era. So I think age-wise, that says a lot too with what they're going to do and what they have planned. So obviously they're going to lock him in for some multiple pictures so that he can age well with the character. So they picked a good age for Batman to be for this Batman.
I think sometimes as well when you're an actor, and this goes for male and female as well, when you start out with let's call it fluffy. Obviously, Twilight was a for many a deeply emotional experience they still connect to, but it was a bit brooding. When you start off with something that is very fluffy, or whether it's a fluffy genre, whether it's rom-coms or something that's a YA novel, and then you want to accelerate through. I think we have to get over this thing about holding that against someone. Because if we went back to everybody's resume, the first movies that they did, the ones that really broke them in, not very often are they pieces of works that are considered to be, huge. I mean, if you look at, the likes of, Leonardo DiCaprio, Tom Hanks, Jennifer Aniston. I mean, literally, the list goes. Matthew McConaughey, King of the rom-com. And it's all of these people. You look at them, and if you go, you started out doing fluffy, successful movies. Therefore, we're going to hold that against you when you want to 15 years down the line, when now you're established as an actor. Nobody did that with the likes of the Brad Pitts and stuff. I just think we just need to get over it a little bit.
Well, it's a different time too. I mean, you didn't have social media back then.
Completely different kind of
thing. You didn't have that.
Yeah.
So, if Matthew McConaughey did the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie that he did. And
Renee Zellweger.
Renee Zellweger.
He's in that as well.
Both of those in that movie. It's a terrible
movie.
It's a wonderful train wreck to watch.
It is. It's fascinating.
It is like what?
But there wasn't really this kind of the internet. Twitter, all these things have brought things out so everyone can complain, and that's, in a way, it's good. In a way, we all have a voice, but at the same time, it's like we also need to chill and wait, because Robert has done a lot of good movies lately. A lot of really
good.
Like you said, though, they're movies that people have not seen yet.
Right.
Yeah.
Because they're small and they're tiny little films.
They're either difficult to find, or they just don't want to watch them. I mean, I'm not having a go at Twilight fans at all. But no. I can imagine if you're a fan of Robert Pattinson and you really liked him because he was in Twilight, and you watch some other movies, you would watch it because Robert Pattinson is in it, but you might not necessarily like the movie.
Especially something like The Rover.
Yeah. Something like The Rover.
Yeah.
Right.
And they're not easy movies to find. You have to make the effort, and sometimes they're heavy. I mean, look at the amount of praise that some people who, even in the film press, are giving a bit of a hard time over this, going, "Oh, is he right for it?" Were singing his praises when he was nominated for a load of movies and saying, "Why wasn't he nominated for an Oscar?" It's like, well, which do you want? Do you want to praise him and say he should get more awards for small indie movies, but then when he has the audacity to touch Batman, you're like, well, I don't really know if he's up for it. If he's Oscar worthy, I think he's going to be all right.
He'll be fine.
If anything, he's going to elevate Batman and give you a Batman that you're more inclined to like.
Yeah.
I was very dubious about Joaquin Phoenix playing the Joker, because I'm not a massive fan of Joaquin Phoenix. I can take him and I can leave him, and sometimes I just don't like his performances at all. But having seen him as Joker and embodying that character, I'm going like, do you know what? I'm wrong. So I think as long as people are open to adjusting it and just don't blanketly boycott it.
Yeah, I agree.
And I mentioned this on the show the other week with the Sonic debacle, and we've seen it again with Game of Thrones this week, and we saw it with a Jedi. Almost 18 months, Jedi. 2 years ago, Last Jedi. And where fans are going, I don't like it, remake it, change the mind. It's like, don't ever confuse being a fan and loving something and being a member of the audience with being too emboldened where you control the system, because you don't.
You don't.
Yeah.
And it's like
no one's going to remake a whole entire season of a show.
No.
Ever.
And they're not going to remake The Last Jedi just because. No. And again, I think it just you said it great. Like, they're so close to it. And they talk about it incessantly, and they come up with their own. Right,
and I do understand that. I have things that I'm passionate about.
Fandom a part of our lives. This is why we love movies, right?
Absolutely.
But when you go so far to where your theories become fact in your head, and then it goes to, well, that's the way it should be. These are things that I need to see in this movie, and then the movie gives you the unexpected because it doesn't conform to that. Then you get pissed instead of reveling in the fact that you got something that was unexpected, that you didn't see coming. That's what you should praise.
And look, it's okay. It's okay to hate something. It's okay to not be a fan of something and be pissed off and maybe going, I hate this movie. But at the same time,
and God knows some fans will do that.
Yeah, but don't disregard the people that do love it.
Yeah,
you know, there's tons of films that are hugely popular I didn't like at all.
Detective Pikachu, we were talking about it earlier.
Yeah,
you're not a fan of that one.
I'm not a fan of it.
Let's have a look at the chat because people have a lot of views on this. First of all, good morning to Hugh Jennings, who's apparently in Cannes. Bonjour, Hugh Jennings. Bonjour.
Bonjour.
Bon matin. I think that's French. I don't know. Kamei Egan, good morning, movie fans. Cans, happy Friday. Jenna James, morning, guys. Azino Hour, hello. Good to have all of these people in the chat. And don't forget that if you watch this show live, you do get to be part of this chat. Obviously, we can't do it for everybody personally when you listen back because, we've got other stuff to do. But yeah, so we really appreciate it. And because of you guys, that's why we got the show in the first place. Okay, Skunk Ape saying hello as well. Let's get some thoughts on Robert Pattinson. I had zero desire to see the Twilight movies. This is coming from Carne Egan. Or even read the books, but I think he could be a good Batman as long as there's a decent script and a director. And certainly in the director, we have that.
Yeah.
Have a lot of faith in him. Zeno Hour, Robert Pattinson is a good pick, but I'm sad Demetri didn't get the role. Time to change agents. Yes.
Yeah,
okay.
There you go.
How did you know I was up for that?
Senor Nerd, remember when... It's very close, though, I hear. Remember when everyone's saying Robert Pattinson was the worst actor ever because of Twilight? I do. Funny how 10 years changes people's mind. Absolutely.
Yeah, no, it's true.
Jenna James saying, I like Robert Pattinson, but he's going to have to be at the gym a lot. I think he's more of a Nightwing, but may prove me wrong. I will say I prefer him over Holt and Efron, both fit. I think Nick Holt would have been good. I would have been very open to Zac Efron. He would have not taken that role right now.
No,
Jenna James, Nightwing, Green Lantern, or even replacing Ezra's Flash than Batman. But Hammer and Taylor, Army Hammer and Aaron Taylor Johnson would have been my choices over Pattinson. Army Hammer, I think, would have been a really good choice. But again, you've got to think where if you want to have Batman staying in as the current Batman for a number of years, Army Hammer he would be harder to do that with.
Yes, he would.
And also, I think a big part of Batman is the fact that it's the evolution of Bruce Wayne into Batman, because Bruce Wayne wasn't a particularly stacked guy. The suit gave him a lot of his imposition. So I think you also have to have an element of... I mean, George Clooney wasn't a particularly muscly guy. Val Kilmer wasn't a particularly muscly guy. Michael Keaton wasn't a particularly muscly guy. The closest that we came to it was Christian Bale.
Yeah.
Because they went back a little bit more. Well, they went far more to the source.
Yeah,
I mean, because
exactly.
Bruce Wayne.
God knows Adam West wasn't.
No.
What?
So but yeah, Christian Bale with Chris Nolan, they went back to the roots of the comic, in which Bruce Wayne is a stacked, pretty well fit guy. He has to be in that training.
And there are so many alliterations of Batman.
And trust me, they'll put Rob in the gym. He's gonna
Rob's gonna have to sweat.
Yeah, but Nightwing was a really great suggestion.
Really good idea.
Actually, too,
Yeah,
I was
I
like,
agree.
I could actually see him as Green Lantern too.
But what about Holt then as Nightwing? I think those two together might be pretty good. But again, Nick Holt is not a particularly buff guy, but he built up for when he was playing the Beast.
Yeah,
so it can be done.
They can do it.
A couple of other things in the chat before we're going to move on from this. John Harrison, this casting decision is kind of perfect. Pattinson is an amazing actor. He is. Nick Holt comes off more like a Riddler. Okay, interesting.
Ooh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, good idea. Carme Egan, Jenna James, I love your idea of Pattinson as Nightwing. Good call. We agree with that as well. John Harrison, Good Time is an amazing performance. Good Time is the movie that I was referencing earlier when I was talking about all the awards love. Skunk Ape, I shouted the word "what" when I read the headline. It felt unreal, but he was good in Lost City of Z, so I will give him a chance. And that's really important, is to give these people a chance.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
have to today.
John Harrison, I think Pattinson is much more proven than Bale up to 2005. Fair point. Christian Bale certainly had a very, can I say, sporadically successful career up to that point. Zeno Hour saying, I was hoping for Army Hammer. Pattinson was ultimately my second choice out of the rumored names. I thought he'd make a better Bat villain, but this can definitely work. Yeah, I mean, really lots of thoughts are generally pretty supportive, which is really good to see. My choices would have been, this is from Zeno Hour, 1, Army Hammer, 2, Robert Pattinson, 3, Aaron Taylor Johnson, 4, CGI Ben Affleck, 5, me, 6, Holt. Very offended I am not number 7 on that.
Well, I went out for the role. Why am I on the list?
I know. I was rooting for you, man. I was hoping you'd get it.
So there's lots of, again, Jenna James saying, I guess this means Holt, Hammer, Efron, and Taylor Johnson are going to be fan cast as Green Lantern, or even being the top guys if and when they replace Ezra Miller's Flash. We can see what happens with that. John Harrison, those 8 movies wouldn't exist without 20th Century Fox, absolutely, but I think, what we're going to see excitingly, what's happening with Rupert over at Warner is very, very exciting.
Yeah.
Take that from me. Newsies is my favorite movie. I don't think we're going to see a Bale-less remake of Newsies anytime soon, replacing Christian Bale. Although that would be the ultimate.
They're going to animate it. They're going to reverse engineer. They're going to go from live action and they're going to animate.
De-age everybody. So Robert Pattinson would be.
I'm surprised they haven't already.
Other people in the chat I want to say hello to this morning. Hello to Jen James. Hello to Mark Ballum. Hello to Sarah Brockle. Hey, Sarah. Really appreciate you all taking part in the show today. And in case you're wondering, no, Scott is not here this week. Scott has a week off. Demetri is here, and Jimmy. Very quickly, guys, if you want to follow him on social media, Demetri, where can people find you?
On the Twitters at DMovies1701.
And Jimmy?
Jimmy to the O, T-O, not two.
Wonderful. Okay, cool. Let's move on. Okay, we need to talk about Cannes. It's just kicked off. It's early days this year, days. Yeah. But already a couple of things are standing out. First of all, I think, and I asked you guys to come up with these topics, Rocketman. This seriously has had... very, very strong reviews.
I did not expect that at all.
I was hoping for it, but I was quite surprised with how unanimous it has been. Now, also, I will add a little prefix to that by the fact that I am ever so slightly dubious of when people see these movies at festivals and everybody starts peeing their pants over like, the best movie ever. It's the film of the year. And sometimes it's just they're just very happy to be invited to Cannes. All their stuff is paid up and it's all fancy schmancy and you pay $61 for a croissant. Or a croissant, as it's called here in the US.
Been there.
It's like I've been there. All you have to do is look at social media and it feels like the real thing.
Oh my gosh.
Without the cost. But yeah, so Rocketman really, though, it seems to have got
crazy
genuine responses, not arty, wanky, like, I gotta love this. Right. And it's not getting that backlash where it's like, well, it's not Bohemian Rhapsody.
Right.
Yeah, I'm actually. Well, the thing about it is, I'm wondering if it's going to have one of those where it's going to open with amazing reviews and it'll bomb. I almost feel like that's going to happen. I don't know why. And I'm looking forward to it. I'm seeing it very soon.
I'm seeing it next week. We'll
be there. And I honestly, the trailer did not impress me at all.
Oh, interesting.
I like the trailer. With Scott, we like the trailer. I like the trailer.
Really?
I liked each one of the trailers. It really got me into it because it looked as if it was going to show me something different. Okay. And coming off of Bohemian Rhapsody, this didn't look like a Bohemian Rhapsody
which
take.
is good.
Yeah. And this looked like there was this musical fantasy element into it that looked like it could fit into the story of Elton John.
Well, it's interesting that you've mentioned that. It's something that people have mentioned in a number of the reviews coming out is the fact that it could have, and it perhaps shouldn't work, but it does work, is the fact that it feels like a musical fantasy.
Yeah.
It feels like, they've got the back catalogue of Elton John and they've worked it in and there's amazing musical numbers and then they've still had the narrative going through. And I think people were quite surprised by that. Myself, not so much, because there was a movie that Dexter Fletcher did a number of years ago called Sunshine on Leith. And it was basically using the music of the Proclaimers and creating a narrative. It wasn't their story, but it was using the narrative. And it was, seriously, it was one of my favorite movies of that year. I think I was reviewing for MSN at the time in the UK. And it was so strong and the cast was so spot on. Right. It's a tremendous movie and I don't think it did any business over here.
Probably
but
not,
seriously, what you should do is before you see Rocketman is delve into Dexter Fletcher's back catalogue and check out his older stuff and really see how he uses different kinds of narrative and makes them work in sometimes ways where like, I'm not so sure about that. Right. So I wasn't entirely surprised, but it really does please me that it wasn't a one-off with Sunshine on Leith, that he has been able to do it, because it's different doing it as part of a narrative, a jukebox musical, and then doing it as a life story. Personally, I enjoyed Bohemian Rhapsody.
Me too. Yeah.
My concern was the fact there might have been a pushback because this is another biopic that involves a great musician. So
yeah.
But you're both looking forward to seeing it.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I like, you grow up on that music. Even kids today grow up on Elton John. You have Lion King, for God's sake.
Right.
So I think it's going to be. I'm very curious more than anything.
I'm curious, and we talked about this at breakfast earlier, and you brought it up just moments ago. That is the one caveat. It's at a festival, and it's how much of that is festival, like, because you're playing in front, you're playing to the choir, so to speak. So they're going to love it a lot. How much? But I'm still really looking forward to it. I was looking forward to it since the trailers. Yeah. I think Darren Eggert was a perfect choice for this.
He could sing it.
Yeah. Oh my God!
Well, we heard him sing, and we could hear he could certainly handle this music.
Let's not forget that originally they wanted Justin Timberlake for this role. That was what was being discussed a number of years ago, and I think they've done.
I think they made the right decision.
They've done the right choice, and I think here's why. I mean, Justin Timberlake at the time was having a number of movies coming out, and I think that's when Justin was going down a movie star route. He's kind of moved away from that now. But also I think by having someone who is not a recording artist do this role of someone who is a singer, songwriter, and musical artist is actually better, because I think you need an actor's actor to do it, rather than someone who is also an actor. And I think this is Taron doing Elton John, not Justin Timberlake doing his version of his Justin Timberlake's impression of Elton John. It's a different kind of process.
I agree.
And I think it really will serve the final product. A lot of people talking about this. A lot of people very interested in this movie. Kame Egan saying, I'm very excited to see Rocketman, and I think Taron Egerton embodies Sir Elton. I especially loved him in The Kingsman, The Golden Circle. Interesting. I much preferred him in the first one. I'm going to post an interview actually on Twitter this week. It was one of the interviews I did with Taron at the time of the very first Kingsman movie. And at that junket, it was Colin Firth who had like all the bells and whistles, 2 or 3 cameras in the junket. Taron was in this room on his own with like one camera. There wasn't even a second camera on me.
Really?
And even though he was the star of the movie, at that point he was like still very unknown. And when he went to the premiere, I think he was like getting his clothes from like Top Man. Rather than getting designers falling over themselves to dress him. He that's the kind of stuff that he would regularly wear. And he'd walk down the street and nobody would know him. That's about to change, I think, with Rocketman.
I think so.
Probably, yes. Which is shocking it hasn't happened already, because he's given several great performances.
Yes. Yeah. No, absolutely. Zeno Hour saying, side note, I'm so glad that Taron Egerton wasn't in the running for Batman. Yeah, but I mean, he would have been great. I think he'd really be good. Mark Ballam saying Dexter started in the TV show Press Gang. He did, with a wonky American accent. He did. And he also made a movie called The Rachel Papers. He was in the movie The Rachel Papers, from the 1980s with Ione Skye, and that was his attempts to break out of doing Press Gang, which is a big sort of kids TV show. They ran a newspaper, and he moved on and went to do Rachel Papers, which was great. And then it kind of nothing really generally happened. He continued to act for a while, and then he reformulated himself as a director, and it's something he has a tremendous flair for. And he's worked with Taron before, don't forget, and Eddie the Eagle.
That's right.
So these guys already have a beat that they're following together. They're as a pack, they're running together, which is great. I expect them to work again in the future. Taron for Johnny Storm or Flash if Ezra Miller leaves. A lot of people wanting Ezra Miller to lose his job today.
I don't know why.
Poor Ezra. I feel like I should send him some like cupcakes or something.
I mean, there hasn't been any rumors.
Oh yeah, Rachel Papers was a movie. James Spader, Jonathan Pryce, Ione Skye, and Dexter Fletcher, and that was a great movie. If you can find it, do check it out. Taron Egerton will be great as an awesome penguin. One of the rumored villains in the Matt Reeves Batman, absolutely. Sarah Brockles, so much breakfast dropping. Jenna James, Egerton is another guy I can see someday in the DC or MCU film, say Red Hood Nova, Moon Knight, or Wally West Flash.
Wally West.
Wally West Flash, as in the Flash that's Wally West, not Wally West Flash. Which sounds like a suburb of Wally Flash. Oh, it's Wally West Flash. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
First,
the junction.
Middle,
yeah,
and
that's the one.
Name.
Skunk Ape John Harrison agreed. Brian Singer is... no, okay, we're not going to read that comment out. We're just going to go away from that one. Kingsman was awesome, but Kingsman 2 was terrible. So a lot of people here are saying, Skunk Ape, Tom Hardy is Elton John. I can't see that fit at all. No, I'm not sure who suggests that. Thanks this for fun, Gus. Next, I nominate Simon to be cast in the Phil Collins biopic.
Good choice.
I think it's just because I'm a bald Englishman.
Yeah. No, you could pull up.
I see that being the genesis of something.
There's clearly something in the air tonight. Okay, guys, let's also talk about Quentin Tarantino. Once Upon a Time is going to be appearing there as well. That's probably one of the other most anticipated movies of this festival. Let's talk a little bit about that. Whose idea was this?
That was mine.
That was yours. Let's talk about that.
Well, look, the weird thing about his career, I love when he kind of recreates history with Inglourious Basterds. I like his kind of sense of style. I feel like this is a movie made for Tarantino. You've met him, I'm assuming.
Yeah, a number of times.
This dude, whatever you think of his filmmaking, he knows movies.
He does.
Like nobody's business. And the fact that he's taking on this period of Hollywood and these stories and Charles Manson, all this stuff, I'm really fascinated to see what he's going to do with this.
But again, when we talk earlier about fans getting really, really close to this, because Tarantino's love of movie is so deep.
Intense.
Sometimes, again, when he makes movies, he falls over himself by he's just, I think, sometimes too close to the subject matter. I think he over eggs a pudding.
And this could be the one that,
this could be the very one.
So, I mean, look, I'm excited for it, but at the same time, I'm a little nervous about the whole Charles Manson thing. I don't know if I want to see that kind of story recreated. I don't know if it's.
But serial killers are so big right now.
I know, right? I do. Again, I just don't want to go there. You know, it's not my thing. But at the same time, I love the cast.
Yeah.
There's a lot of promise here. I'm very curious to hear what people are going to say when it comes out of Cannes. I'm really curious.
Yeah. It's one of the movies I'm most looking forward to, only because I just really want. I'm undecided from the trailers.
For sure, yeah.
Exactly which way it's going to go, and I don't know whether that's deliberate or just my personal taste. I'm not quite sure. I'm genuinely really curious, and I miss that curiosity about movies.
Yeah,
I do miss that.
That's why I love the trailer, because
me too.
Told me so little that I have no idea, but it still looked good, and it piqued my curiosity. And, you know, of course, there's Quentin Tarantino's name attached to it.
Yeah.
But once you see, like, that trailer, you go, this looks, and to your point, this is the type of movie that Quentin, like, that era, you feel he's going to nail.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so I'm in, and I'm glad I know so little about what's going on.
I miss
And
knowing
who's
little about movies.
Yeah.
Oh my God! It's like every week you see a new scene, a new clip, a new trailer.
Oh, it's a poster.
I've actually stopped watching trailers if I can avoid it. I won't watch them.
I don't stop watching theatrical trailers, but that's all I try to watch. Is the theatrical trailer.
Yeah, I go to the press screenings. They don't show them, so we can avoid them.
But I'll watch them online. Obviously at the theater. But that's where I draw the line.
Yeah.
Once I see, scene from, but no, I don't want to watch it.
Yeah.
I want to know as little as possible. They did a great job with this trailer because they highlight that cast.
Yeah.
How can you not like that cast? And the movie looks good. So I'm in.
Yeah, no, with trailers, I try and stop watching them like a couple of months out, just so I can have something to go in.
Just one trailer.
Yeah,
that's usually what I do, and yeah, this one works.
Mark in the chat saying English actors for English characters, Tar. No, they're actors. They pretend for a living. That's like saying real scientists for scientists, please. No, I'm happy to anybody being cast if they're right for the role. We don't know until we see the movies. Okay, I want to talk about something else as well this week, which was interesting. I got an email that said Chris Rock to reboot Saw franchise, and I was like, I didn't know there was someone else in the industry called Chris Rock. Oh, it's that Chris Rock. Very, very surprising, but apparently Chris Rock is a big fan of the Saw, and why wouldn't he be, of the Saw franchise, and has come up with this new idea for a Saw movie, which I have to be honest with you, I wasn't a fan of Jigsaw.
No, I didn't bother with it.
I did not enjoy that. Was a real pale imitation.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know about. I mean,
here's the thing. Okay, two of my favorite Saw movies, Saw 2 and Saw 3, both directed by Darren Bousman. He's coming back. That gives me hope.
Okay.
The only issue of that is, are we going to see just another sequel? Or are we going to see something different? If we're dealing with Saw, I think it's time to change it up. Really change it up.
Yeah.
Maybe Tobin Bell has only a minor. He's only an influence. I don't know. But I think they need to make a serious change. And if I don't know. It's like the idea is interesting. I don't know if I'm sold yet.
Yeah. I really want to know more about the idea. I really want to know more about the idea. So synopsis I'm looking forward to.
Doesn't this smell like some other horror franchise that hired people that we know from doing comedy and writing comedy, and then that movie it repurposed itself and it became a huge hit after 20 years laying dormant? Doesn't this sound at all like Halloween? I mean,
it did
you're
make
trying to force. Number one, it's only been 3 years since the last Jigsaw movie, right? Mm-hmm. No offense to Chris Rock. I do believe that Chris Rock is one of the finest, if not best, comedians we have today. If you ever see his stand-up, he is amazing.
I've seen him live doing his stand-up a number of times, and he's on the nose.
Apparent to Eddie Murphy, the way he stalks the stage. It's just, why do we need a let it die for a while.
Yeah,
it's 3 years. Okay, Halloween. Once they announced David Gordon Green and
John Carpenter.
No. But who is the writer?
Danny.
Danny McBride.
Yeah.
You're like, what? But then they did something else. Well, number one, it was Blumhouse.
Yes. Yeah.
Number two,
Blumhouse Corner.
Blumhouse Corner. Right. And then we're getting then John Carpenter is coming back
and
to produce and do the score.
And now it looks like he might return to directing as well.
Right. And then they get Jamie Lee Curtis back. That's big news. Over here, their biggest news is Darren Lynn Bousman. I mean,
but a safe pair of hands.
He's a good choice, but they don't have a real. They don't have a Jamie Lee Curtis. I guess you can call it Tobin Bell.
But that's what I'm saying. This Saw,
Shawnee Smith.
The only thing that Saw has going for it, like the Jigsaw made about almost 40 million domestic, but it made over 100 million worldwide. It's on a $10 million budget. Yeah. The other one thing that this particular iteration of this new Saw that's coming, one of its originators, one of its the person who was responsible for bringing Saw to the States, that turned the short into a feature, that fought hard. Saw almost went to video, that brought it to theaters, is not part of this anymore. No. I don't know what
James Wan.
No, Peter Block.
Oh, Peter Block.
Yeah, he is not part of this. So you have the person who creatively fought hard for this franchise is not there, which is weird. So, and I was at Lionsgate for many of the Saw movies.
I remember that. Yeah.
I saw that franchise grow, and it also refueled horror at the time.
It did.
And nobody, then you got the torture porn movies, which I hated that expression. But
terrible expression.
It's just the last Saw movie, it's 3 years, and
it wasn't, it made money. That's the thing. It made a lot of money, so it's not shocking that this is happening. It does seem like a way to boost interest, because the problem is you get a movie like, Friday the 13th Part 4, what was the final chapter, was the last one. Everyone loved it. It made a lot of money. Then they're like, well, no, we need to reboot it, so let's throw a new beginning. And people went to see that.
Yeah.
And they're like, what the fuck did we just watch?
But then they apologized. They
made
awesome.
6, and no one went to see 6.
And 6
That's
is one
the
of the
problem.
best sequels.
So are we going to have are they going to make a new Saw? It's going to be amazing with Darren Bousman directing, and then people are going to go, well, we saw Jigsaw. No.
Yeah,
that's I didn't think Jigsaw was miserable.
But it was miserable. But also, I've got to be honest with you. I think
it didn't look great.
I think Halloween has kind of planted that seed of we can do this again.
And Halloween worked for me.
Halloween
I loved it.
Halloween worked. I really enjoed it. And I know I didn't love it as much as some people, but I did certainly enjoy it. No, I know you certainly love, but again, you're a massive fan of the franchise. So, but yeah, I think we're in a time at the moment where we're seeing some elevated forms of horror, where we're seeing classic tropes being used in new and inventive ways, which is great, because you please the old and you please the new, and it gives this audience that is very hungry for intelligent and informed horror right now, and they're actively seeking it out. I think that actually it's going to be fine. I just wonder if what we're expecting it to be is what it's going to be, and if it's not, what people do with that, whether they just reject that out of hand or whether they do actually do something with it. So it's interesting.
It's also a no-win situation. If they do exactly what it is, they're going to be upset.
Let me ask you this, though. If Blumhouse were doing this, would we even been having this particular conversation?
Personally, I think I still would. Actually.
Really? Because I would be like going, because they know what they're doing.
With Saw, I would.
Only because it's so not what I expected it to be. John Harrison saying, this Chris Rock news sounds like some poor man's Jordan Peele type horror movie. Now, I think that's... I knew someone was going to bring up that comment, because obviously Jordan Peele came from a point of view of being a comedy star, on TV and the movie Keanu, and he'd done some other comedic stuff as well. And so I think people automatically, and they did not expect this darkness from him, and there was an element of humor. So I think that's an easy comparison to make.
Yeah.
But look what we got from Jordan Peele, even though I wasn't a massive fan of Us. Look at what we've got from this mind. And also, to be honest with you, some comedians are some of the most dark and tortured individuals
for sure.
that you will ever come across. So if you want some fucked up shit, sometimes the best guy to get is the one who's always laughing all the time, because there's a lot of tears on the inside.
Again,
so I'm not sure about it, but I'm certainly very interested
there is
to
more
see.
a parallel to Halloween only because of Danny McBride, David Gordon Green, who were never in this genre before, but they were fans. They were fans. They convinced Carpenter. So Chris Rock did something to convince the powers that be at Lionsgate.
And Lionsgate can't exactly. I mean, they've got John Wick, but they don't have a lot else.
Yeah.
So they can't afford a very expensive, high-profile fuck-up. I think they're pretty sure about this one.
No.
Zeno, we're going to move on from this because we have a couple of things to get to before we talk about box office and the week's reviews. Zeno, question: do you think this Saw spin-off will be leaning into social politics? That was my initial thought. I think kind of inevitable, but that's something that the Saw movies have done previously, and we've seen it with things like Us, Get Out. We're seeing a trend for this, but you've always seen social narratives in horror.
Always.
Right, if you look back 70s, 60s, 20s, you've had this these social things are not a sudden lefty thing that's like, oh, we've got to wear pussy hats and make social comments.
Horror has always been
leading outside of any deliberate genre, has been a leader with social commentary.
Because you can get away with so much more without basically this is wrong, this is wrong. You can there's metaphors. You can Night of the Living Dead is a perfect example.
A Texas Chainsaw Massacre based on inspired by real life murders.
To me, the original
Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
The original Invasion of the Body Snatchers. To me, horror and science fiction share that similarly in that they both hold a mirror up to society. They just show it very differently. Science fiction is about the human nature, where horror is a genre in which it will show the mirror of society in this dark way that you might have to think about it a little bit more. And not necessarily a Friday the 13th. That's the difference. But science fiction can have sci-fi. It's a whole different argument. But yes, I believe this. We all agree. Horror always brings up a mirror to society, and it shows something that it's either protesting against society, whether it's edited or whether it's like the MPA, the ratings boards, or social commentary about a war, racism.
It always encompasses it, and it manages to do it in a really interesting way. So I think there's sometimes a criticism like, oh, I don't like it now because it's got social commentary, and you clearly haven't been paying attention to your horror, my friend. Clearly haven't been paying attention. Or the Twilight Zone. Kame Egan, it seems as if whenever Hollywood wants to reboot certain films, I have to question if any of these people have any original ideas. The thing is that while audiences keep going to see these things, Hollywood's going to keep making them. So it's this like chicken or egg thing, and this perpetually, self-perpetuating circle.
Great way to put it.
Fillmore Pocket. I thought Escape Room was a good sort of reimagining, minus the Jigsaw character, of course. That's what I heard. Haven't seen that, but I'm going to check that out.
It was alright.
I heard okay things about it. MK Songbird, completely unrelated to what's being discussed, but I'm excited that we're getting another installment of the Collector series. We touched on that on the show actually last week.
That I'm excited about.
Sarah Brockle, I'm a bit disappointed now that whenever you yell Blumhouse Corner, there's No one with an axe or a knife that jumps out from behind the counter. What are interns for? Sarah, seriously, Bubby, I wish we had an intern. That would be lovely. I would really appreciate that. This is all the work of us. Mark, why risk originality when you can flog the dead horse? Well, like I say, you know, if people stop paying to see a dead fucking horse, people had stopped dragging out a dead horse. Yes. Okay, we lost someone this week, switching tacks. I want to very quickly touch on the loss of Doris Day this week. Someone who hadn't been active as an actor for a while. She was old. She was 97. She's had numerous health problems. Will be seen out and about every now and again here in LA. A slew of classic movies. It's quite a refined catalogue. It was extensive for a while, but it was quite, over the years it kind of got thinner and thinner. As time went by, but even beyond her own work, I think her influence on the industry was even greater than the resume that she has left us with. Dimitri on this.
Absolutely. I mean, Sandra Dee from Grease is Doris Day.
Yeah.
Annette Funicello couldn't. I mean, she was that bright, bubbly California, almost like beach girl,
but the aspirational role model. And women wanted to be her, men wanted to be with her. Yeah, some women wanted to be with her too, of course.
And when you look at movies like Pillow Talk, I mean, these are classic comedies, romantic comedies. You can say that they're dated, but you can't take away the charisma of the actors who are in them.
No. Dated may be, but if you look at movies like Pillow Talk, is a great example, actually. You look at how influential those have been on romantic comedies that we've had through the 80s, 90s, and noughties.
100%.
Without the work of Pillow Talk, because very much of its time it was, we wouldn't have the likes of the Nora Ephrons of the world and the Meg Ryans and even to a certain extent the Penelope Spheerises, people like that, and so many of these women in Hollywood who created very strong female content that was very accessible to the masses, and it was completely unique, but had this like vein of its heritage going through it. Jimmy,
she was like you say, dated. You watch those movies; they're so freaking charming, man.
Yes,
and you like you said, we wouldn't have all these romantic comedies. We wouldn't have Nora Ephron, but there was something really about her and Rock Hudson together that was. You can't even replicate that. It was beautiful.
We had this discussion over breakfast this morning I discussed, I wanted to mention Doris Day on the show because even though, a lot of the sort of the younger generation of film fans, they won't know who she is. They possibly won't have seen any of her movies, so it won't have a huge resonance.
They'll have heard Que Sera Sera. That's
absolutely. But literally point her out in a line of her face on paper, and they probably wouldn't be able to do that. No. But one thing from the Doris Day era, and there was like a handful of people like her, there was Marilyn Monroe, there was the Audrey Hepburns of the world and people like that. They were in movies where it was a man and a woman as a lead, and they were equal leads.
Yeah. Yes.
It was a teamwork.
Oftentimes they were the leads.
They were the leads, yes.
Period, yeah.
So if you want to go and see very unthreatening, strong female characters that were very successful in movies, seriously, look into the back catalogue of the likes of Doris Day and Audrey Hepburn, where, you saw more... Bette Davis.
Claudette Colbert.
Great examples, again, where there was this on-screen parity that we seem somehow to have forgotten to have, or suddenly it's a debate.
Yeah.
When it was so effortless, and to be honest with you, gave us some of the best movies that have ever come out of Hollywood. So Doris Day, unfortunately, lost this week, and obviously another one you want to mention very quickly.
Yeah, I did, because Tim Conway. Tim Conway passed away.
Yeah.
And for me, growing up, yes, there was the Carol Burnett show, but for me, it was Tim Conway in the Disney movies. Apple Dumpling Gang. He was in Gus. Apple Dumpling Gang Rides Again. He paired up with Don Knotts, and they were a duo. They made these silly family-type movies. Private Eyes still works.
Oh my gosh, I remember that one.
Still works for me. Dude, wow. And when you had Don Knotts and Tim Conway together, and Tim Conway was where Don Knotts could be the straight guy, Tim Conway and his schlump, he could just make you laugh just from his facial expressions and using the physical comedy that he used in such a way is silly. Physical comedy, slapstick comedy doesn't work today, sadly. I wish it would. But when you watch him on the Carol Burnett show with that ensemble of Harvey Korman, Carol Burnett, you see them working together, and they purposely were trying to make the other person laugh because you wouldn't get fired, like on Saturday Night Live. Again, somebody tweeted out the dentist sketch. And if you can watch the dentist sketch in its entirety, I dare you not to laugh because it is, they were comedic geniuses, and he is, I believe. And I was very sad that he passed away. It's such a part of my childhood.
A lot of thoughts in the chat on the passing of Doris Day. Sarah Brockle saying, I got to see Pillow Talk for the first time this year. So wonderful. Yeah, seriously, one of the best things you can do if you believe that you love movies is to go back and watch movies that you have never seen before that are hugely influential. You might like them, you might not, but it's really important to fill those holes in your film knowledge.
Start back from the 30s. 20s even. I mean, honestly.
Some great things.
Yeah.
Mark Ballin saying, I love Doris Day's movies. Funga, she was kind of like the Lady Gaga of her day. Yes. Yeah. Because she was a singer, she was an actor. She had very strong views as well. Mark Ballin, Calamity Jane, her rom-coms, Hitchcock. I mean, amazing work.
Yeah.
Yes. Doris Day had a great singing voice as well as acting chops. Hums, que sera, sera. Doris Day and Audrey Hepburn were the queens of the classy rom-coms. Absolutely. Skunk Ape. I have never seen a movie with Doris Day in, but I was always sad to see one of the great stars of the olden days pass away. It absolutely is, because it's a golden age of movies, and it's a golden age of Hollywood that even after these people are gone, it's irreplaceable. We don't have the same kind of movie stars. The business is a very different business these days, and it's really good to appreciate what we sadly don't have anymore, but it's still with us in so many of the things that you won't even know it influenced.
Right. Yeah. And if you have TCM, I'm sure they're going to do
probably all week.
It's so easy to get hold of these things now, seriously. And also, go to your local library, because I know certainly here in LA, local libraries have amazing catalogs of movies, and it's pretty much like free or very, very cheap to do it. Yeah. So if you don't, if you can't afford a streaming service, or it's not on a streaming service, go to your local library, and a lot of them actually have it online as well. So libraries, fuck yeah.
That is a great recommend.
Seriously people do not realize how great the libraries are that we have in this country and other countries. It's an invaluable resource, and it's a great way of accessing stuff that you can't find elsewhere. It's like a freaking Blockbuster. They have all the new releases, they have loads of classic stuff, all the music, and it's free.
I think
you pay for it.
Sometimes you have to charge, if you want to hold a book, it's like $1.
It's like nothing. Seriously, guys, check out your local libraries. Don't overlook them. A couple of things I want to touch on very quickly, because we're running out of time before we get to a chat about John Wick. John Carpenter teasing a return to directing this week. Good news.
I'm great. That's great news. I just hope it's better than The Ward.
Yes, The Ward was a massive disappointment. I think that's possibly his worst movie.
I want to see a great movie from Carpenter really badly.
I think Halloween and working on those has kind of given him a little bit of a hunger for that again. I think there's a massive, people really appreciating his work again.
Well, the good thing is now he may be able to get the budget to make something great,
which would be good.
Yes.
Although with Hollywood doing the whole Blumhouse model, where you don't need to spend a huge amount of money, maybe this is the best time for John Carpenter to really come into his own on that smaller budget.
At his best.
That's true. Yeah. And if he's partnering up with Blumhouse, he can. Yeah. This could be good.
Honey, I Shrunk the Kid reboot Shrunk in the works with Josh Gad to star. I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, could be fun, but I mean,
no.
There are other things I'd rather see. And Blumhouse Corner! Before we move on, fifth and final The Purge movie sets its release date for June 2020. Big fan of the Purge franchise, big fan of Blumhouse. The last one I didn't love it, but I thought it was still good. The first Purge?
I liked it more than I thought it was going to. For me, it introduced me to some new faces that I was like, this guy should be hired more. I like the gangster guy who eventually became the hero.
Yeah, I did
He was a great action hero.
Yeah.
So
I liked it. It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. I'm ready. I don't mind another one. Sure, why not?
I mean, I round it off nicely. That's great. We know we're getting a second series of the TV show as well, so that Purge World is not Purge World.
Not going away.
Terrible theme park. We haven't seen the end of that. A couple of big releases out this week. A Dog's Journey. I didn't get to see that, unfortunately, this week. I also don't like movies where dogs die.
Yeah, that's my problem.
Seriously, I can't watch them. And The Sun is also a star. Those are, according to Box Office Mojo, show. They're both going to make top 10. We're looking at John Wick 3 coming in at the top, Avengers going in second place, Pokemon Detective Pikachu in third place, A Dog's Journey coming in at fourth, and The Sun is also a star coming in sixth place behind The Hustle, which is terrible. So we're looking at that. John Wick took a massive 5.9 million in previews last night, which outside of Twilight and Hunger Games franchises is the biggest for Lionsgate, which is really good. Now, John Wick 3, we did a kind of a review on this last week, but I wanted to talk about it again because your head, Jimmy. I enjoyed the movie. I didn't love it as much as perhaps the second one, although the first one I think is still my favorite. You consider this to be the film of the year so far?
So far, yeah. I haven't had that much fun in a movie in a long time.
Okay.
And it was just I love this world. I absolutely love this world. I love what Chad and Keanu bring together. I loved Halle Berry in this. I loved Angelica Houston.
You see, I thought they were both underused.
They were underused, but the thing is, it keeps building this mythology, and I love the idea that they'll be back again, possibly, or they'll. I loved it. I loved every minute. My only complaint with the John Wick movies is they always run about maybe 5-10 minutes too long. But I'm so into the world, I don't care.
Okay.
And so, yeah.
For me, I mean, even though there was this circular narrative going on, it didn't have a stronger story for me, this one. I mean, we talked about this last week. It felt more like it was, whereas the second one seemed more dynamic and real, this one seemed more like a series of set pieces on sound stages that felt a little bit too repetitive. But I mean, I still love the John Wick Chapter 3. Someone said online today that this is the best action movie franchise out there right now. For me, I still think it's Mission Impossible. But I think John Wick is a closer, but they're different.
I think as a whole,
yeah,
John Wick is better.
Interesting.
The last few Mission Impossibles, yes, but. Yeah, there's been a couple of missteps for me with Mission Impossible.
Fair, that's fair.
So yeah, but between the two, pretty equal. Equal.
I don't think so. I don't even think it's a race. I mean, for me, like I like John Wick. To me, has always been okay. They've been fun movies, great distractions. I like the second one better than the first one. This third one, to me, the first half I thought was more John Wick. I mean, the library fight, the knife fight, and the horse and the motorcycles, fantastic. Then he goes to the ballet, and for me, the movie goes out of hand. Then it becomes an animal stunt show at Universal.
Oh, but they're so cute.
It becomes it's cute, and then it's another motorcycle. To me, it became repetitive.
Oh no, not at all to me.
Yeah,
I
to
didn't
me,
feel
it was
that.
highly repetitive, and I got to your point. This one felt long. To me, this one could have been trimmed.
I think you could say that about all three, but it doesn't matter to me because I still love it.
Oh, yeah, no, the last one had better.
See, I
nemesis.
I think this is better. I think it's a better film.
Yeah, I think the last one had better nemesis between Common and Ruby Rose. That they were great, and I thought.
Keep in mind, though, I love them all. I love all three.
They're all great. I mean, I revisited both of the first John Wick movies, the first one, the second one, before I saw the third one, John Wick Chapter 3. Panera Bread.
Still gets me that.
Still good. But yeah, I mean, I this for me, it felt like a bridge movie. It felt too much like, whereas the 1 and 2 were part of a series very clearly, and then we were going to get the third one. This one felt a bit like an open-ended bridge movie, and it felt there was elements of it that felt a little bit too much like. It's a point between A and B. It's A and a half, and then B is going to be the next one. But I mean, inevitably, we're looking at an opening weekend of some are saying 45, some 50. Are saying 40, some are saying 48. I think we're going to see 50 for this quite easily.
I think so too.
I think it's Lionsgate needs a hit.
Yes.
This is going to, they send out their best.
And that would be if I remember correctly, that's going to be the strongest opening of any of the John Wick movies.
Yes, it will. Absolutely. And these movies don't make a ton of money. They're not like massive hits.
They do well, though.
They do well
very
enough.
Well.
And I want them to do well because I like them. I like this world.
So let's just assume, no spoilers, but let's just assume there's a fourth movie. Right. We know there's going to be a TV show spin-off, but we know I'm going to assume from the ending of this movie there's going to be a fourth movie.
Yes.
When do you think they're going to announce that? Do you think that's going to be quite soon, or do you think they're going to just wait and see what the box office is?
I think that's exactly what they'll do. Because they've been playing this whole series rather well. They've been playing it smartly. They keep the costs down, and they wait to announce it at the right time. I think they're going to wait to announce it, but I think it will be very soon. Once we hear the numbers, I think within like Monday or Tuesday, we'll probably hear something.
Okay,
Well,
maybe.
yeah, and
because I'm going to assume they've got an arc.
Yes, yeah.
So are we going to see it as a 4 or a 5 or a 6?
I'm personally keep on making them until as long as those two are together, as long as that team is together, I'm for as many as they want to make.
Interesting.
I'm 4. I mean, I was hoping they were going to end at 3. And then
how dare you?
4, yeah, I was hoping they were going to end at 3.
I would have been happy with
been
the trilogy. That would have been a nice
I mean,
round
look,
out.
It's a great trilogy. I would have been happy with trilogy, but I'm still willing for more.
If they're going to go with a 4, which it looks like they do, it doesn't even look like they're going to have to make an announcement if they do 50.
Yeah.
So let's end it at 4.
So are we going to see then? Obviously, this is the start of the summer where we're really at the beginning of it. Obviously, Endgame was the first one out of the gate. Are we going to see when John Wick 4 gets greenlit, let's just say it's inevitable, that's going to be a summer event movie? We're going to see it move from early into kind of like the June, July, big boy tentpole, face to face with, with the big guns. Are we going to, no pun intended.
I hope not. I hope they take their time. I hope they keep doing what they've been doing.
Yeah,
That's better. That's better.
And they had the perfect release date.
Yeah.
So many weeks after Endgame, right?
Yeah.
So
perfect.
It's going to perpetuate the summer box office, and they're sitting they have a great position where they can come out after the major tsunami, and then they're going to pick up all of the they're going to pick up all the
still want
stats.
adventure.
Yes.
They still want to go enjoy themselves.
4 weeks later is the perfect way, and you keep box office momentum going.
Guys, we're out of time, unfortunately. Going to go a couple of comments from the chat before we go. I want to see Skunk Ape. I'm not a fan of the John Wick movies. They're okay at best. I feel like they're only on a planet that has an opinion. Only one on this planet that has that opinion. No, not at all. No. Mark Ballum, they sound like a video game. They kind of are like a video game. Go to area, kill all, move to next area, kill all, etc. Yeah, but that's kind of what people want sometimes. Skunk Ape, some of the action scenes feel like a video game. One of the reasons I don't like the John Wick movies. Mark Bellum saying, if a film gets made into a video game, what film would you consider to be a video game movie? That is a big question. And Mark, on final thing on this, before Xeno Hour, is there a John Wick video game yet? There is one coming out, and also he's currently appearing in Fortnite. Xeno Hour, John Wick is totally going to be a cinematic universe. Absolutely.
My question is, and we can put money down, is will there be a John Wick joke and or reference in Bill and Ted's?
I hope so.
Movie? I mean, they would almost have to.
Well,
right?
we know we're getting a crossover with the Toy Story movie, so there's going to be some things in there. I'm looking forward to Woody checking into the Continental. Demetri, tell me who you are, please.
Demetri Panos right here and Meet the Movie Press on the Popcorn Talk Network and on the Twitters at DMovies1701 and part of the wonderful LAOFCS.
Jimmy, thank you so much for joining us this week.
No problem.
Who are you? Where can we find you?
Jimmy O, Joe Blow, Arrow in the Head, part of the LAOFCS. What else do you know what
we
it is?
are?
Fantastic.
Whatever.
My name is Simon Thompson. You can find me at Showbiz Simon on Instagram and Twitter. Thank you so much for watching this week. I will be back next week. If you are going to check out a movie this week, I strongly suggest John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum Rhapsody. Which is a great Freddie Mercury-inspired John Wick movie. Thank you so much, everybody. If you like the show, like, share, subscribe, tell people about it because we love our little family. We'd like it to get even bigger. Thank you so much. Have a great week. Watch some movies. Take care and be good to each other.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of its owners or principals.